So we are going to start on a very difficult subject, most daunting canto of Savitri. We have been kind of dodging it for 3 years, but then I think we had to do something about it in whatever manner it is possible. We have quickly gone through the narrative as presented by the mother about this canto. So that gives you the framework to understand it also. Well, actually there are two books, A Look at the Symbol Dawn and Savitri Talks the Symbol Dawn, on this particular canto itself, and yet I don't think we have been able to cover in these two volumes much of what is there in this canto. They are not sufficient. And then it can go on and on like that also, you see. So what we will be doing also in the class will be a kind of a general survey of the canto along with the mother. We will try to go into certain details as far as possible. Now, as I told you earlier, it is a mistake to start Savitri for a beginner with the symbol dawn. With the symbol dawn. Start with some simpler cantos, maybe from book 3 onwards, and then once you get kind of a familiarity with Savitri, you can come back to the symbol dawn. Sometimes it is said that these two cantos, the symbol dawn and the issue, form what is called in the epic terminology plunging into the middle of the story. We are plunging directly into the middle of the story. And that is exactly what happens sometimes here. When you are really plunging into the middle of the story. It starts, but at the same time, I will say that that kind of a description of plunging into the middle of the story with this canto may not be really applicable here. The whole development is, in a way, sequential. The only thing which you have to understand is that what is being described in these two cantos, Canto 1 and Canto 2, the symbol dawn and the issue, is the entire vision, entire projection of the complete scheme of things in the transcendent. What is visualized of this creation in the transcendent, it is that which is kind of presented in these two cantos. Therefore, it is really the beginning of the beginnings. The book of the beginnings, it is really the book of the beginning. The beginning begins with the entire concern of this creation and the transcendent, and then it comes down here. And I think that sequential presentation, to see it in a sequential manner, is important. So we have to understand that the description here is the vision, as if the creator is looking at the entire prospect of things from his angle there. But the poet is putting it in our language, not the way in which the vision of the creator is seen by the creator himself, but as we would see it ourselves. So the poet is transcribing that vision into our language, and therefore it appears as though it is something kind of disjointed from the entire scheme of other things. So there is a vision of the creator of the whole creation, and that creation, that vision is being presented by the poet in our language, in our mode of understanding, in our mode of expression, the language which is available to us. So it is a kind of a transcription of that into our language, you see. And therefore, it becomes more complicated. And it may look as though things are happening here routinely, but in fact, the entire thing is being seen and observed over there. So it was the hour before the gods awake. It's the most daunting line, most difficult line. And in fact, as far as the English is concerned, there is no complicated word at all here. All are absolutely simple words. It was the hour before the gods awake. There is no complicated word at all here, but it is the most daunting line. See, yeah. See, it is like saying, to a certain extent, once upon a time there was a king who ruled over the world in a great manner. It opens like that, once upon a time. Now, that sentence is very clear. If you remain with that, then it's okay. But what is the mystery, how he ruled, what are the problems, etc., etc., they will unfold in the course of the time. Once upon a time, in the far realm, there was a king who ruled over the world in a very gracious manner, something like that, or what you want to call it, you see. So it is in that manner as if it was the hour before the gods awake, and narrative begins with that, you see. It was, you see. Now, in this sentence there are two things. It was the hour. It is actually one clause, one sentence itself. It was the hour by itself. And then the gods awake, another sentence. The gods awake. There are two distinct statements. Now, the first statement, it was the hour. Here the verb is past tense. Here the verb is present. Awake. So, in one sentence already the poet has complicated all the tenses. Past, present, etc., etc., they are all kind of brought together. There is nothing like past or present. The whole thing is indicative of the timeless process by which things are going to happen. So, if you see in the symbolic manner, the bringing together of the tenses is significant that look, we are talking about a timeless event, or timeless process of things which will keep on happening and going on like that, you see. As I told you earlier, that this line was for the first time present in the 25th draft of the Simmer Dawn. There were 25 drafts earlier. Let me see if I can find out quickly. Yeah, well, so I was telling you about the presence of two tenses, was past and present. That is one aspect of this line. But before we proceed further on that, let me tell you from the poetic point of view something about this line. It was the hour before the gods awake. It illustrates at once the poetic technique which the poet is adopting for his epic Savitri. It was the hour before the gods awake is a perfect pentametric line. It means that Savitri, epic Savitri, is an epic composed in pentametric lines. It immediately tells you about that thing. That is one aspect of it. The whole composition is pentametric. Maybe there are one or two lines in Savitri which are 6-footer, not 5 feet, but 6. One or two lines are there. But in fact, the whole Savitri is otherwise pentametric. Now, that is one point about the pentametric aspect. The other point is, it was the hour before the gods awake. The sense is complete with one line. It is called end-stopped lines. End-stopped lines means the sense of the line gets completed at the end of the line by itself generally. There are small variations, we shall see in the next sentence, there are small variations, but basically the whole of Savitri is pentametric and stopped line. There are enjama, running of line one or the other at some places, but very few, very not so frequently, you see. So that is the second character of the poetry. The third character is this line particularly, it was the hour before the gods awake, is, I will say, essentially an iambic line. Iambic, short log, short log, short log. It was the hour before the gods awake. So, three characters I come out. The lines are end stopped, the lines are iambic, the lines are pentametric, really. But at the same time, there are small variations also. Now, if you go strictly by the accent which is common there in the English poetry is based on accents, not on stress. So, the first foot will be it was. It is not really was, doesn't carry really an accent by itself in English language. You will say it was the hour before the gods awake. So, was is not really carrying an accent, but here it is because of its position and because of its value there, it is carrying a kind of a stress. So, the stress becomes an accent. So, in other words, at times Savitri, the poetic art of Savitri allows some of these little variation in the language and presentation also. It was the hour before the gods awake. Now, our is generally, most commonly monosyllabic. So, it was the hour before the gods awake. Perfect pentametric by putting stress on was. Hour is monosyllabic here. At times, hour is also disyllabic. It is not hour, it is hour. Sometimes it is also hour. So, that little variation is also there. So, while accenting, while reciting Savitri, you have to take care of all the nuances in the poetic sense as well, see, the flexibility which is available with the English language. So, you have to be very rich about that kind of a thing. In fact, if you hear the mother's voice about this line, it was the hour before the gods awake. She says hour, it was the hour. Very clearly spreads out like that, you see. She doesn't say hour, you see. She doesn't read like an English poem, you see. It was the hour before the gods awake, you see. That is how she reads it, you see. Now, so that is the third character of the poetic technique which is being adopted in Savitri. So, the first line immediately illustrates the poetic art which is coming to you in the epic. Apart from the metaphysical, apart from the occult, apart from the spiritual angles, the poetic art which is present here is immediately coming in the first line itself, you see. Now, that little variation which I was telling you is coming here in the second line, in the second sentence. Across the path of the divine event, the huge forwarding mind of night, alone in the unlit temple of eternity, lay stretched immobile upon silence Mars. You see here, across the path of divine event, you see a distinct pause at the end of the line, divine event. The sentence does not get completed, but there is a pause already there, you see. Across the path of divine event, the huge forwarding mind of night, the huge forwarding mind of night. So, in a way, the line is not really stopping with event, it is going forward also to some extent. But here, in the second line, the huge forwarding mind of night, alone in an unlit temple. You see the line is running over from the second to the third. Alone. There is a slight pause after alone. But it doesn't stop with that. Alone in an unlit temple of eternity. So when you are enunciating Savitri, you have to take care of all these nuances also, you see. Yeah.
Alone, it's the mind or the night?
Huh?
Alone, it's for the mind or for the night?
Alone in her unlit temple of eternity, mind.
Mind.
Yeah.
So mind, it's
Well, actually, the mind. Hello, sorry, I'm sorry. The although mind of night is the main verb, the main noun, but alone stands here for night.
yeah, because he said in
Yeah,
her,
yeah. Alone, mind of night, night alone in her unlit temple of eternity. Night alone in her unlit temple of eternity. Lays its mobile upon silence mark. That's how the poetry will flow on with this. So the second sentence immediately tells you that, look, apart from the character of end-stop lines in Savitri, you also have Enjama, line running from one to the other, alone in her unlit temple of eternity. Very clear distinction is made here in the narratives. Yes.
You separate mind and night?
It should not. But here, mind of night is a single phrase. But alone cannot be for mind.
Mind of night is one.
Mind of night, well, I see the huge forwarding mind of night, alone, who? You can't say alone. I will put it this way. He has qualified it by this pronoun her.
Yes.
yeah, yeah. But the mind,
Her stands for night, not for mind.
so it means, because do you remember last year we discussed it, the mind of life, of night.
Mind of night.
And you explain, and we agree that what we understand, it's not the mind of the night.
No.
It's a mind done by the night.
Mind?
It's a mind who is night.
Yeah, mind.
Is night.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not the mind
yeah,
of night.
okay, you can put it that way, yes.
So here it means we should not speak about the night, we have to speak about the mind only.
Forwarding mind of night. No, no, it is night which is standing in the way. You see, the one thing is night, that her is for night, not for mind, definitely. The second thing is what is important here, night with capital N,
Yeah.
not capital M mind.
So it's a mind, it's the mind of the night.
Yes,
Here is the mind
yeah,
of the night.
yeah. M is not capital.
Could we say the mind of the night?
Mind of
For the understanding.
You see, he doesn't say mind of the night. He doesn't say mind of the
No,
night.
but the meaning, the
The
meaning.
meaning.
No, 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 no.
Mind of night.
It is an integral part of our own thing. It is not something different which has been put there. It is not, this is my book, it's not that.
It's mind made of night.
Yes.
Made of night.
Yeah. Now, as I told you earlier, across the path of divine event, the huge forwarding mind of night, alone in the unlit temple of eternity. Now, so this from the poetic point of view, as I was telling you, brings the aspect of the technique, how it is involved. Now, this line, forwarding mind of night, in one of the earlier drafts, Shevendo earlier draft, it was the spirit of night. In the earlier draft, it was the spirit of night. Spirit is more general, you see. Here, mind is specific, you see. Spirit of night, that was the phrase he was using earlier. Now, while copying that draft in this version, he started copying the huge foreboding spirit, stopped. He struck off the spirit and then put mind of night. At that last moment of inspiration, he changed spirit of night to mind of night. And that is an extremely significant change, because it is the mind which is really coming, the aspect of mind which is coming into picture as far as the forebodingness is concerned for the divine event. What is forbidding for the divine event? It is a mind of night, not night. In fact, before mind entered into picture, the first thing that came out of the void was the inconscience. But when mind entered into inconscience, then the entire quality of inconscience got changed. The nature, the character of inconscience got changed because of the mind in inconscience. The mother says that before mind entered into inconscience, inconscience was plastic, was moldable, was shapeable, could be done this way or that way. But mind, when it entered into inconscience, well, mind acquired the quality of, so when inconscience acquired the quality of mind, then it became rigid, it became firm, it became unmoldable. And it is that unmoldability which is coming now in the nature of an obstacle across the path of divine event. So mind of night is that way more specific than the spirit of night. The spirit of night. Across the path of divine event, the huge forwarding mind of night